Welcome, friend, to Life and Liberty Radio. I'm David Householder, here to encourage your pursuit of happiness. You and I are partners, exploring our shared spiritual journeys. Together, we're dreaming and working for a free society. Tell others today about our adventure in faith and freedom. So breathe in, open your mind, lift up your spirit. Let's get started. If you have one handy, I'd like you to get a hold of an American dollar bill and turn it around and look at the greenback side and look at the pyramid on the left. At the bottom of the pyramid are the Roman numerals for 1776, the year of our Lord, 1776 A.D., Anno Domini. 1776, the pyramid stands for the unfinished work of liberty. Never does stay done. We have to continue to win it back, because I think that it is somewhere in our tendencies to want to reinstitute feudalism, medieval feudalism, at almost every turn, where the Lord of the Manor takes care of us, and then we basically owe our lives to the Lord of the Manor. It kind of runs deep in those of us with European background, and we had to come across the ocean to get rid of that. But in any case, we look at this pyramid, and at the top is the all-seeing eye, which is the symbol for the omnipotence of the Creator, for providence. And there's a Latin phrase that sort of highlights this pyramid, and that is annuit ceptis. Now, most of us don't read a lot of Latin, let alone an obscure phrase like annuit ceptis, which literally translated means he waves at or winks at or literally approves of our endeavor. He approves of our endeavor. A sense of a higher power, a sense of providence, a sense of capital C, Creator. The Founding Fathers, there was not an atheist among them. Some of them theologically a little bit creative or even strange, but all of them believed in the providence of God bringing this country forth. Not that we always lived up to the highest ideals entailed by that reality, but that ideal and that reality was very, very real to them. And so what we have here is a sense of providence and nature's God. Now I want to take you from the dollar bill to a 12-step group. And if you go to a 12-step group, people pitch in dollar bills as a sort of collective offering. And I really enjoy being around 12-step groups. That's one of the things I do as a pastor, as the leader of a faith family, is work with 12-step groups of all kinds. There's all kinds of things people use 12-step groups to get recovery from. And the whole idea of rehab, of course, is based on the whole 12-step model, which came forth from a guy named Bill, who wrote the Blue Book. Bill, who is, of course, anonymous. We talk about Alcoholics Anonymous or Overeating Anonymous or fill in the blank. And in these meetings, there is an appeal to a higher power, much the same as the Founding Fathers. A sense to which it is a higher power that makes things work, a grounding in a generic sense of a creator, destiny, and purpose, rather than randomness and a sense of no design at all. Now, the truth is, in our public schools, what we teach our kids is that there is no design. And we teach that as fact, and we teach the opinion of the founders as feelings or opinions. And we do the same thing with what happens at a 12-step group, feelings or opinions. And fact is that we live in a random creation. And our kids get pretty schizophrenic on this one, philosophically speaking. And I don't blame them, because we're not doing a very good job of epistemology, understanding how we believe things, why we believe things, and what's going on here, and how we agree to work together as a society. What is our operating system? Now, I basically use Apple products and have since very, very early on, the days the Mac had a tiny screen and was sort of monochrome. And I also have used PC stuff from time to time, depending where I've worked. And the two are just different operating systems, and you have to agree on one operating system for your device. You can't use a whole bunch of them at once. I suppose you could if you're a real nerd and you love to switch back and forth. But for most of us, we want to have one operating system, and we tend to prefer that. And the Founding Fathers set up an operating system that was not per se Orthodox Christian, although most of them were Orthodox Christians. By Orthodox, I mean kind of right-believing, correct-believing, conservative Christians. But they had a sense of generic Judeo-Christian spirituality. And they believed that that was the best operating system for a nation. And Bill believed that the same was true for 12-step groups. Didn't want to fight over theology and didn't want to turn the 12-step group into a church or the country into a church, but a sense of grounding in a higher power is key to the success of both a country and a 12-step group. And it's certainly true in both cases. Now, Thomas Jefferson, who had pretty experimental, almost strange theology, kind of narcissistic theology, kind of wrapped everything around what he thought. But Thomas Jefferson was the one who insisted on this wording in the Declaration of Independence. And that's this: that all men are created equal and endowed by their capital C Creator with certain inalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, why did he say this? Because it sounded flowery or beautiful or Hallmark cardish to say Creator? No, because he believed very literally and very stridently that unless we grounded our rights in a created order, in design, in nature's God, that then we would be stuck with just plain social contract. And social contract is people get together and vote on what their values are. And he thought, well, it's good for a lot of things, but not for our natural rights. Because unless our natural rights come from the Creator by design, then human beings can take them away. So he thought, hey, if we ground our rights in a vote or a majority or opinion or people, then people can take them away. If the government gives us rights, then the government can take them away. So he wanted to make sure that we were grounded in a created order. Same with the 12-step group, the idea that we get our help from a higher power in getting through recovery. So these principles Jefferson penned into the Declaration of Independence. And we see that certainly with our president, Barack Obama, putting his hand on two Bibles, Lincoln's and Martin Luther King's Bibles, as he did the oath of office, and also insisted and called the Supreme Court justice ahead of time. He talked to him and said, hey, I want you to make sure that you put in, so help me God, at the end, even though that's not a part of the official constitutional way of doing the oath of office. Why? Because I think that no matter where their theology or politics are, people have a generic sense that appealing to a higher power is good for the country, and it is good for progress personally. It's good for progress corporately. It's good for protecting rights in general. We hold these truths to be self-evident. You don't get to vote on them. They're just there. Inalienable literally means you cannot give them away. It's a part of your nature. Now, if you own a house, it's alienable. You can actually get rid of a house. But you could sell a car. That's alienable, according to legal parlance. But inalienable is like your kidneys or your heart. You can only give them away when you're dead. I suppose you give away one kidney, but it's like your liver or your heart or something like that. Or your spine. It's a big part of who you are. It's a part of being human. So for 12-step groups or nations, a higher power may just be an essential part of our operating system. I love getting packages from Amazon. At least a couple of times a week, something shows up on my front porch, and I kind of run to get it and pick it up and open it up and see what's there. You see, Amazon is a great way to shop because you can pick exactly what you want, exactly what price, used or new,
ever. It's the free market in action. So if you like to shop through Amazon, as I do, please go to my website, davidhouseholder.com, and do all of your Amazon shopping through that website. How do you do that? Go to the website. At the top, there's an Amazon banner. You click on there, and every time you buy something from Amazon, it sends revenue, finances, to my website so I can continue this podcast and continue to grow it so we can spread the message of life and liberty, faith and freedom. Thanks for doing that. Take care.
This idea of a higher power in our nation's operating system, or in that of a recovery group, the good thing is it very much patterns and mimics the overwhelming majority of the human race, which in all times and all places has overwhelmingly affirmed the idea of a higher power of some kind. Now, of course, there's lots of ways of expressing that higher power, but a tiny minority of people have rejected a sense of higher power. So I've got several conclusions here that come out of that fact. Number one, I believe that secularism should be tolerated but not embraced. If someone wants to be a secularist, if someone wants to believe that we're here randomly and there is no reason or destiny for us being here, then that's fine. In a free country, you can believe that. But the truth is, most people who are activists of this mindset want to turn that into the operating system, saying, well, hey, you guys don't agree on the religions anyways, so the best operating system would be mine, which is no higher power, no spirituality, cleansed of those things. It's much safer, much fairer, much better for everybody. If everybody plays on my playground, then everyone will get along. But the truth is, it's the worst playground possible. Rather than a secular playground, why not a generically spiritual playground? Because that's the one the Founding Fathers wanted. That's the one that works in 12-step groups. That's the one that almost everyone believes. It's just not a helpful operating system to be secular. It is proven, the most secular of worldviews have proven to be some of the most destructive on earth. Number two, piety and practice of one's faith should be encouraged. Abraham Lincoln, several times during the Civil War, called the nation to prayer. He would say, gather on such and such a date, let's say a Thursday at noon, in your customary house of worship, and pray a prayer of repentance or perhaps thanksgiving, depending on the situation. He didn't tell anyone, go be Baptists, go be Jewish, go be Methodists or Presbyterians. Go to your house of worship and invoke the Creator, a generic sense of spiritual sense of being. I call this reanimation. We need to reanimate the society, and we don't need to force anyone. We don't even have to, because an overwhelming majority of Americans do believe in a higher power. We have to animate that worldview. Anima in Latin for the soul or spirit. It doesn't really correlate directly into English, but the sense of animation, and we could use a little bit of spiritual power in our society. Number three, we need to respect the patterns of others. Different people are raised with different patterns of talking about the higher power. I was raised Lutheran, and I have a Lutheran vocabulary for looking at the higher power, for talking to the higher power, for worshiping collectively the higher power. I really can't have two mother tongues when it comes to that. I can just have one basic language, first language, and that is Christian. That's how I'm wired. Even if I were to become something else, that would still be my mother tongue, and I would speak the other tongue with an accent. So that's the way I look at things, and I really can't do anything else. And I really do affirm that language, and it's my only primary language for connecting with God. I can use other languages from time to time, like you and I can learn Hungarian if we practice, but it never becomes a mother tongue. And we tend to pray in our mother tongue. I tend to pray in English, and I tend to pray as a Lutheran. And as a Holy Spirit-oriented Lutheran, the Pentecostal-leaning Lutheran, that's kind of how I am. But I do need to respect the other ways of doing this. If we're going to get along, we have to do this. If we don't get along, the secularists win. The sanitizers win. The people who want no spirituality win. The flatteners win. The reductionists win. And it's just a much less attractive society in which to live, and less functional as far as that goes. So we need to practice our piety and our faith, and we need to respect other patterns. We need to also reaffirm the big paragraphs and memes of our generic Judeo-Christian heritage. And that would be the Lord's Prayer, the Ten Commandments, and the 23rd Psalm. If you look at these three beautiful pieces of literature, none of them are specifically Christian. None of them are specifically Jewish. All of them could be used in a 12-step group. All of them could have been used by the Founding Fathers. They are spiritually generic, and that's why we love them so much, because any faith system can use them. If you're Jewish, if you're Muslim, if you're just generically theistic, you can certainly pray the Lord's Prayer, and you can certainly look at the Ten Commandments, and you can certainly look at the 23rd Psalm as things that give us great courage and great strength. They're basically anthems to a higher power, and they are just deeply and sublimely beautiful. And we ought to affirm them as a society. I think we need to have the Ten Commandments in our schools. I think the kids need to learn the 23rd Psalm. And praying the Lord's Prayer together is an incredibly unifying thing to do. Number 5, don't forget the higher power part of your faith language. Whether you are Presbyterian or New Age or Muslim or Jewish or Lutheran like me, there needs to be a remembrance that we are not doing the language for the language's sake. Our religious pattern is not the reality. It's the reality that we are worshiping and affirming, and a sense that we do have a creator and a destiny, and that we are here for a reason. Religious systems tend to get violent with each other when those languages take on a life of their own, absent from the creator. We need to get in touch with the Creator, I believe, on a regular basis. So, the back of your dollar bill, Anuit Keptis, 12-step groups, Thomas Jefferson, and human rights. Abraham Lincoln, Martin Luther King's Bibles, the overwhelming majority of the human race. We need to reanimate our sense of a higher power. And I think we need to tolerate secularism and be nice to secular people, but we need to reject their attempt to set the tone for the worldview. We need to practice our piety and reanimate our faith, respect people of other religions, of other languages, other patterns, and bring back the Lord's Prayer, the Ten Commandments, and the 23rd Psalm. And please, when you pray today, don't forget that the higher power is real, and that's where our focus needs to be.
Well, that's all for today on Life and Liberty Radio. Thanks so much for sharing this part of your spiritual journey with me. Now, the views on this program are not necessarily those of my advertisers, sponsors, places I work or do business with. They're purely my own, but I'm sharing them with you, so share your ideas with me. Write me on Twitter at Liberty House, LIBERTYHOUS, no E. Until next time, let's continue dreaming and working for a free and spiritually grounded society.